What's going on? What's going on? It's Greg. Greg said it. Back with this weekly conversation here, live. I just had to come by like a good Baptist preacher. I won't be before you long. Just kind of capping up, summing up what we talked about this week, what we have with the Colorado Buffaloes in this off season, and I don't know if people really realize where we coming from when we talk about what's going on with the Colorado Buffaloes this offseason, how the recruiting has went. I don't think people fully comprehend what we're talking about. And I think the only people who really could comprehend that is people who actually follow what's been going on this offseason. And I think a lot of people just don't really care. And speaking of care, you look at like during the season, and I think John the Liquidator mentioned it a couple days ago, where he talked about just the engagement of the Colorado Buffaloes and how it shifted. We can look at the analytics and everything. And you definitely had a lot of people on that train because it was a high riding. September was like, everybody was interested. And then I think, as they started to lose November and then December, and naturally it's the off season, so it makes sense. But it definitely shows who really has been engaged the whole time. And maybe we lost a few soldiers, maybe we lost a few of y'all. I think the people who tuning in right now are people who really want to stay abreast. And I think most of the people, just like everything else in life, is people who just want to join the hype train and they just want to be a part of it. I remember when I was looking on Facebook during the season, and I've been following the Buffaloes and talking about it. I ain't heard nothing about it. As soon as they won that first game, it was like everybody, they start passing around the bandwagon forms, and I'm with Colorado. There's people that I actually knew. And I was like, where did this come from? Like, who are these? Since when everybody with Colorado? And, that lasted for a few weeks. And then next thing you know, everybody was just kind of faded out. It was gone. And what we're seeing is we got fair weather fans. People got the right to do what they want. But, people are definitely kind of sleeping on Colorado, even though it's like an off season right now. There's no games, there's no drama, there's no hype. But only the real people who really want to know what's going on really follow us at this point in the season. So I definitely appreciate everybody who stopped through here on a live and on the replay because it's a lot of stuff going on. And I feel sorry for the people who think, they're going to be some legit bandwagon people this year because they ain't going to have a clue what, why, and how Colorado got to where it is. And we're going to know exactly what. Let me tell you something. Don't get it twisted. Colorado is going to dominate. So last year, we talked domination from the simple fact Coach Prime was there in his track record. And we talked about, the fact that people underestimating the players that they did have. But we couldn't underestimate the line out blocking. That was a key difference in them winning several more games because when you really look at Shador making those comebacks and he was hurt and he just pretty much just run his body into the ground till he really couldn't finish the last few games, it became a compounding issue when you get sacked and you get hit so much. It's just natural. He's not a big dude, and just getting hit like that, he pretty much had to be playing hurt pretty much at least half the season. So when you look at what they were able to produce with him getting knocked all over the place, just an extreme joke that you see a guy putting up those numbers the way he did and being like the top sack guy in pretty much all of Division I football. It's bizarre. So just a fraction of, just use your common sense, just a fraction of better blocking is the difference between them little games they lost by 3 and 7 and 10 points, which was pretty much 80-90% of the losses they had outside of Washington State and Oregon. Those games were close, and he was getting knocked around like a rag doll all of those games. So just from this, looking at it on the offensive side, just the offensive side alone, the fact that he wasn't at his best, neither was his protection at his best. We know that. And this just legit explaining why Colorado will dominate for people who just curious or who haven't been following. Colorado, just a fraction of better blocking. It was a difference between at least another couple games that they would have won. And I'm not even including Utah because he didn't even play and they just straight stole that game. Like they was still the other way, they just blatant. So you add 3 more games, they were 7-5. Like I said, they were at least a 7-5 team. Just from my looking at the games, actually watching the games and breaking it down. With the line they had, just a little better blocking. But at the same time, if we brought in these guys with better camaraderie, more pride in protecting the quarterback, just that alone should show you that it's going to be an improved performance. Plus, the quarterback is more mature. He's going to be stronger. He's going to be more experienced. And this is it for him. So you got more receiver weapons. We're talking offensive side, more receiver weapons. You have more size at the receiver position. You brought in another slot they can rival what Jimmy Horn is doing. Is it Weber or Webster, right? You bring in some big guys on the outside who's bigger than pretty much all our receivers except Amarion Miller. So you're bringing in Amarion Miller-sized receivers, and you see what he did. So you got bigger targets. Then you bring in a tight end that's a little bigger than Mikey was. And then we have some news that Smalls has been converted over this week from defensive, well, edge rusher, outside backer mostly. And he was a 5-star guy, came out of Washington. I think he had a couple of injuries or whatever over time. But he's converted back to a position that he played formerly in high school. He's a guy that has good hands. I seen him running out there. He has good speed, and he's lean. So he's athletic enough, and he has a size, and it adds to the depth of the tight end room. So you have more diversity in your formations. Now you actually have 2 legit tight ends on the field at the same time who are big enough to block and who can be a pass weapon. That's also something he didn't have last year. He never had 2 tight ends that could really do both and could actually block and catch. So we've already seen his weapons on offense increase. We added a little young running back, Welch, like a little Tyson. We should have a healthy McCaskill this year. I think Savion's got to be hungry because people saying kind of like look over him, but he's a strong running back, and he's shown it last year. And I think with the proper use of Dylan Edwards, proper use, don't try to act like he's one of the other guys. He's not. I hope they learned that. Proper use of Dylan Edwards, like they did in TCU game. Not getting him run off a tackle, but putting him out in the open field, putting him out in the flats, making running backs have to get out there. And as quick as he is, as fast as he is, he's running track. He's going to have even better form and technique that he's working on that he can't get on the football field. He's going to be even quicker, he's a little bigger. Putting him out in the open field with a linebacker is going to be a problem, especially if they think they're going to be blitzing off the edge. And you sneak him out there, by the time we see what happens, he get a little gap, a little seam, he can take it up the sideline. If they properly use, there's no excuse. There's no excuse because you got to think about the fact you got all season to analyze your players. No excuse. They weren't here last year. He had only high school. You know what your players can do. You have all off season to properly analyze how to best use your players. They better properly analyze how to use Dylan Edwards. Don't run him off of tackles. Put him out there in open fields, quick toss, jet sweep motion, screens. You know, always have to use screens. That's more predictable. Just quickly get him out in the open field, especially when you're on the short side of the field to the wide side of the field, and make them guys have to come up and make a play on him. With the proper use of the running backs that we have, tight ends, the offense should be even more deadly. Even as Shedeur was getting tossed around like a rag doll. We know that. We know that Shedeur, what he can do. It's not a question this year. Is he FCC, FBS quarterback? That conversation there, he has nothing to prove. We see the numbers that he produced. We see what he's done. So, with all that being said, that ain't even the real thing. Because I really was going to title this conversation differently. I really had Colorado's defense will dominate. But I say, I'm not going to look over our offense because that right there is important too. But I'm really looking at it like if the offense maintained the production from last year, See, you act like they wasn't putting up numbers. The guy was number one in pretty much every category the first half of the season before injuries and all that other stuff, and the stats just went crazy. Shador was going hand in hand with Penix on yardage for the first several games. Penix, Heisman runner up. All right. Shador was going hand in hand with all of those boys. Bo Nix, who was also on that ballot. He was on hand in hand with the touchdowns and on that category against Bo Nix and yardage against Penix. He was them combined. And his passing percentage was right behind Bo Nix with a bad line. See, I wasn't even going to go there, but let's look at it. Because I'm not going to keep y'all long, like I said. But I'm just going to get this on my check because we've been talking this week. And I appreciate you all here. Make sure you leave a comment. Don't hide. Because I know that what we're really looking at is the reality that because they lost last year, you're writing off what they accomplished. You're writing off what they accomplished last year. And the reality is Shador numbers from last year combined this year with the defense is a whole different team. See, the fact that his line wasn't blocking for me, he's able to put up those numbers, and the fact that they were scoring, averaging 30-plus points a game and still losing because they had shootouts and stuff like that. Like with USC, that was pretty much a shootout. They pretty much had a shootout with Arizona State. They let teams come back on them because of the defense. So the offense, of course, was pushed to score more. It was pushed to score more in the TCU game. It was a shootout. It was pushed to score more in the Colorado State game, having to go overtime. Even with the Stanford, a lot of games the offense was scoring with a bad line. Remember that. So the defense ultimately is the difference in this team. So let's look at what the defense had. Last year, we had Jordan Dominic as a primarily the most productive edge rusher. By far, and he wreaked havoc. He had sacks, and he should do well in NFL. I hope nobody not look over that because of what his team did. Because he did it at 3 different conferences and teams. He did it at Georgia Tech, he did it at Arkansas, and he did it at Colorado. So if anybody proved his consistency, he did, right? But outside of that, we had some inconsistency, at least in the first part of the season with the edge rushers. A couple guys will fill in. Austin come in every now and then. Some of those guys. And on the back end, some of those younger guys actually, we had Wallace and, I think Wallace was coming off. I know Walker was. I think Wallace was more in the tackle area. But we seen some of those guys come off the edge. Some of the younger guys starting to step in. We also seen some of those guys in the middle in that tackle area start to step up, like we seen Manil. That wasn't quite established. We had Shane Coates there, and we were trying to figure out, and we had Bishop there, and we were trying to figure out, and I think they kind of figured that thing out. And we noticed in the back end of the season, the defense was thumping. The defense was thumping at the end of the season. They were causing fumbles and turnovers. They already was good with interceptions all year, but safety started coming up and hitting, but the linebackers just never stepped up. The linebacker play actually got worse. What's going on, Big Worm? The linebacker play actually got worse as the season went on, but so did the offense. And that was the difference. Because when you got to the point where you start holding the teams to 21 points and 28 points and you still lose, then that means the offense production just wasn't there. So it's the combination of what the offense can do with a healthy quarterback that's not running for his life and limping and hurt because he can't get off the ground every play, whether he's sacked or not. You combine that with a defense that could put pressure on a quarterback that has a conglomerate, a gumbo lie of edge rushers that's going to be coming in. Good afternoon. When you look at these edge rushers, when you look at the fact, okay, you just got Green in, who's proven what he can do at Arizona State. And what is it? Okola? My guy, Pitt, who's as a young guy proved. I'm gonna have to get his name right. I knew I was gonna have a problem with his name, and I got Shadozi right? Because I think it's his first name. But when you got these guys, proven guys off the edge, And we still got Arden Walker, who stepped up at the end of last year. You got the McCoys. You got the young guys. You got the depth where you're not just one guy like Jordan Dominic who's consistently producing. Green gonna produce. My guy Pitt gonna produce. He's going to produce. He's proven to produce consistently. You got these guys out here. You got a guy Walker out of I think it's New Mexico State. You got guys. Then you bring in tackles. You bringing in the Shadozis. You bringing in the Barnes from Alabama. You bringing in the Wiggins from LSU. In that interior, we kept complaining about not having guys who can produce, who can run stoppers, pass stoppers, and you can mix them around and you can keep them fresh. You still got Wade out there who can go off the edge and probably hoping we move him to linebacker. The linebacker's real weak, real thin. Even though we went and got Webster, we'll get into that. So you got pieces that have good size, come from good programs, and have good production. Versus last year, we had a lot of guys who had second-tier production and didn't play. They were freshmen, red shirt. Those guys are coming off an injury. See the difference in quality. Quality guys who coming in, yes, some of them maybe one-offers, but a lot of them not. And you bring in guys in who you can develop through the off-season fully in the weight room, drills and stuff versus just in the summer. There's no way that line is not going to be better. But I'm willing to argue, I said it, they're going to be significantly better. They're going to be significantly better in putting pressure on the quarterback. They're going to have a lot more sacks, and you're not going to be able to double down on one guy. I think that they're going to be significantly better in putting, I don't put the run stopping on the defense line. I just don't do that. I know that's a linebacker thing. They control their gaps. The linebacker's supposed to fill the rest. They're supposed to scrape. I understand that, and we're going to get into that. But I also understand the fact that this defensive line is going to put pressure on a probably just as pass-heavy conference. They're going to have a couple of teams that's going to run the ball, but I just don't think you're going to beat Shedeur running the ball. The offense is going to be explosive. It was explosive last year. I think the only way teams in the Pac-12 kept up with Shedeur because they also had Heisman-level quarterbacks. See, that's what you're not getting. Cam Ward, he's underrated. He's trained by the same guy, Shedeur. He's able to put the ball out quick and score quick. We know Bo Nix can score quick. We didn't play Penix. But you got to look at the teams that they really, really struggled with in the beginning. They can score quick. USC scored quick. Yeah, they were slacking around, but you couldn't leave room for Williams like that. They're going to score quick. So when you're going against another quarterback just as caliber as yours, they can run up and score quick and put you to sleep. That's the only way you're going to beat Colorado. That's the only way you're going to stop them. If you keep them in the game, they always can beat you because they have Shedeur if he's healthy. And that's what we also seen last year. Even if y'all was the better team, if y'all was within the touchdown of Shedeur, he's either going to pass you or he's going to tie that game up and go into overtime. Now, we've seen the opposite when Shedeur wasn't as healthy. They didn't score as much, and teams didn't have to score as much, so they could beat you with 28 points. Before that, they would have to put 40 plus. So that's the difference when Shedeur is healthy. If this defense, just straight off numerical, just mathematics, if this defense is able to keep teams 21 and less, you got the Jackson State team. That's what Jackson State was strong with. Their defense wasn't just the most superior, most dominant, but as long as they kept you from scoring more than 21 points, which is decent, they didn't have to do a lot of goose egging, which they could do and they did. But if they can keep teams 14, 21 points most of the game, while Shedeur is scoring 30, 40 points a game, Colorado is going to run through most teams because they have the high-power quarterback. He's going to score. He's going to score. He's shown that. Even with the worst line, he's going to score as long as he's healthy. As long as they keep him up his back, like his dad said, like Coach Prime said, as long as you can keep two upright, that he said plenty with that. As long as these new boys come in and give him time to throw the ball, as long as that running game can work, as long as McCaskill is back where he is, back in the Big 12, where he started at, with some of the linemen that he ran behind. Y'all connecting the dots. Anybody, are you connecting the dots? If McCaskill is healthy, and he's already proven in the Big 12, with some of the linemen that he worked with, who's been proven in the Big 12, Big 10, and other, and you put those pieces together with a quarterback who was leading in touchdowns, leading in passing yards, leading percentage, with probably the second to worst line in the conference, in the country, not the conference, the country. How do you not think that? Now you only can bank on the fact that what I'm saying and what other people saying is a lie. That's the only thing you're really banking on. You're banking on the fact that, oh, they just talking mess again, they not gonna be able to produce. But you gotta factor in the fact that if he was healthy and had just a little better blocking line, their record could have easily flipped. They could have been 4-8 or 8-4, and that would have been realistic, because the only two teams that really blew them out was Washington State and Oregon. That's only two games. Everything else was within a touchdown. So you couldn't tell me they could not only lost two more games. I just give you two more games for them to lose. The reality is UNC, you can give them that, or you can say they came back against UNC. They had a little help, but that wasn't abnormal. So the reality is, as long as, since we're talking defense, somebody asked, do you think we can stop the running backs in the Big 12? Why wouldn't you? What world beater running backs? Who is the Big 12 really? Who's the Big 12 really? Like, when you say the Big 12 running backs, are you talking like SEC, like Derrick Henry, Ingram? Are you talking like some University of Georgia running backs? Like, you say the Big 12, like Big 12, what are we saying? That's not saying much, because if you look at the rankings of conference, SEC is the number one conference. Big 10 is the second best number. We just seen what come out of the Big 10. Big 12, we maybe give them 3 right now because Pac-12 is falling off. And then ACC will fall behind that. So it's not really impressive to say Big 12 running backs. Because if that's the case, we have Big 12 running backs. We have Alton McCaskill, who was the top running back his freshman year in the Big 12. Yeah. That's who he's playing against. Or that's the talent level, Big 12, name some running backs who really, really just are world beaters in the Big 12. They're just, because I know at some point, Pac-12 had the best running backs. If you really think about it, I think Pac-12 had a lot of good running backs. I think Utah had a lot of good running backs. Big size guys. I think we know Oregon State has some decent running backs. Oregon definitely has some good running backs. They have several. We know Washington had a bunch of good running backs. We see them in the national championship. Washington State has some, in combination with their scheme, decent running backs. Arizona, I don't think nobody in Pac-12 had bad running backs. Now, where running backs could hurt, since we tearing up, the next level is the linebacker core. This is going to make the difference in the running game. Everybody keep talking about defensive line. The running back is only going to be as relevant as the linebacker. That's who matches up with the linebacker. That's who covers the running backs. That's who's supposed to be tackling the running backs. Unless a defensive line gets in the backfield and either tackles or slows them up, it's the linebacker job to fill the gaps. That's not there. You only have 3-4 defensive linemen. It's more than gaps than that. It's at least 6 right there. So you got 2 linebackers there for a reason. So if they're not covering their gaps, it don't matter what the defensive line do. They're doing their job. This linebacker run out there like they Stephen Wonder and run right into the back of their defensive lineman. What do we need 2 people in one hole for? That's kindergarten. They did it all the time last year. You have 2 people in one hole and they just run through there like a freight train can run through there. It was that big because nobody over there. And the linebackers were blind as bats, and that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable at the college level, period. Definitely not at the Big 12. So I don't think Webster's going to be that guy. I think Kennedy came in and did pretty decent towards the end. He had to get his reps in. I think Kennedy was a better reader, far better than what we saw with Bentley. And definitely Trevor Woods. Absolutely have no business being a linebacker. Bentley is tough. He's motivated. He needs to spend a lot of time doing drills, a lot of time in the classroom, and his coach better learn how to coach him, because He probably could do well if he learned how to read. His reading sucked, and he's too old not know how to read. And let's get back to him in person. But look at your film. We can watch the film together. You run into the wrong holes. You run into holes where your man already is at. You commit to the run before you read, or you commit before you got cutback issues, you got counter issues, you just take off running like a dog out the front door. So not properly reading is what killed them at the linebacker court. And then we end up on the running like Trevor Woods and Bentley by the last few games. And that just wasn't good. And then I think Kennedy ended up getting in there. But we act as if we didn't have. But we got some other guys at linebacker who redshirt last year, who I'm sure is better. And hopefully they get a shot. But I know Webster coming in is a good dude. Man, we lost Lundy. That would have been a game changer. We had Lundy, a veteran guy. He went back to Florida State. Big old guy. He was like going to be Juju on steroids without the drama. And he was going to be a problem. If you had that piece of somebody like him to the defense, you got something. Big guy, knowledgeable, experienced, a pro. That would have changed the day. They couldn't afford to let Colorado get that piece on the defense. That was a huge piece. He's worth 2-3 linebackers in one, just with his experience, his skill, and his mentorship. So you got, like I say, Webster, Kennedy. I just can't include Bentley. I just can't include Trevor Woods. I think we got was it Victory Johnson? I think his last name Johnson. And we got a couple other guys that can step in. That's probably the area where you can afford to get one or two more guys from some guys, coach leaving. That it would be worth it. Just from depth, any other issues that can pop up, injuries, it can help. I think the defensive line is good. I won't let all them eat. I don't want to starve nobody. And I think the secondary is good. I think the secondary is going to be competitive. I think you got Travis over there, and you need somebody to definitely back him up. The fact that he's playing so much, and you have Kamani, who's like he's putting on some weight and growing, and I'm surprised that we still have Carter Stockmire. I think he really should safety out. He promised me I'd leave him go to linebacker. Cooper's back. I was surprised by that. I thought he only had 1 year, but I think he was a junior. That he would transfer out, especially high season ended. I don't know. Maybe they just made amends. He's still here at least for now. Cooper, and he did decent. He just need to put in more work. These boys all need to go join the track team. I think Dylan don't need to be on one. I think they all need to work out with track, just getting their fundamentals, because you're not working on running technique and fundamentals in the football. I think they all need to work out with the track. Like back in high school, they need to put some money. They ain't even got to compete. Just let them work out with the track team. Let that get back. Go put them on the track. Let them learn how to, be more explosive with their first step. Because, out the blocks, if you ain't explosive, you finna get beat. I seen Dylan running 100, and boy got out so quick. I said, boy, Dylan get that kind of jump, which I know he can. And plus, we looking at Dylan. Some people say, well, did he win? We don't know if Dylan worked out that day. We don't know. Dylan probably sore, or he hitting the weights, so we don't know. But that boy jumped out of them blocks so quick. I said, boy, if Dylan can work with that dude, just his first step, explosion, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be different. So I think it's a good thing for somebody like Dylan to be working out with the track team, keep himself sharp. And I think a lot of other guys need to get out there, especially if they ran track in high school. They need to get out there. And so we need our secondary to be just quicker and faster. And I know we had my name's just slipping my mind. We had Hodge come over from I think it was Liberty. We have a guy come over from Oregon State, which is another long Kamani like defensive back. So you got that guy coming over. So we got another rangy defensive back. And we needed that. We see how the defense just fell apart when Travis left. Like we have nothing. And they had to start moving people around. So with that, you also remember we also got Hawkins over there. Adam Hawkins is still over there with the defense. And I'm going to tell you, people sleeping on Adam Hawkins. He's quick as a cat. They say he was even better defensive back than he was a receiver. And he was like a 4-star receiver. And so he pretty much like a 5-star corner. And I seen some clips of him, man. he covered you like a glove. So with him getting that extra work, not splitting with half the season with offense and fully focused on defense, you got a lot of good depth when you ain't got to worry about if what would happen to Travis Hunter. Because I'm gonna tell you, Hawkins, I'm telling you, he may be like a Richard Sherman, a guy that come over from receiver with those receiver instincts and in the speed. He was a very good receiver. He has the intelligence and he has the quicks and he has the hand. Y'all sleeping. Somebody's sleeping on Adam Hawkins down from South Georgia. That's a boy that can play. And he gonna get the reps in this offseason. So don't be weary of the defensive back room. It's loaded at the cornerback. Safeties, go ahead and slide some people over there. And I know Travis J coming back. I don't know how he is in space, but I know he can come up and make some plays close to the line. Shiloh is back. Vito is back. And they say he like to come up and hit too, but he's a slimmer guy. But he can run and he can hit. So you got some good depth at safety. I think you probably got a couple more guys at safety as well. I hope I'm not missing, but the depth is there. We got Maines, outside guy. We got was it Solomon Jones, another guy who come up in that safety room, and we got our little slush. We got Silman Craig all down in the nickel star role. So, when people got hurt, we didn't really lose production there. But Silman Craig just a smaller guy. I would love to see them bring Travis J down to like a nickel position and goal line. That's the only thing I would say. Well, don't have Silman Craig out there on the ball on the 2. They run the ball. He's skipping around. He can give his all. They finna hit him and knock him through the back of the end zone. So, they just need to be more mindful of their personnel, using of the size and the speed. And I think that, Colorado will be okay on defense. It's not a lot of pieces that's left that's needed. But these are my reasons. These are my reasons that I feel that Colorado is definitely able to dominate this season. I think they're definitely able to, people say the Big 12. Big 12 really ain't making a lot of noise like that. I mean, it's not like you going to Big 10, you had to go up against Michigan and Ohio State. Those guys are consistently good. We know that Big 12 has had its years, especially Texas has carried the name, Oklahoma has carried the name. They both left. We know that some of the other teams can come up and have a decent year. We've seen what Baylor did back with RG3 back in the day. We've seen Texas Tech, and even with Mahomes there, they wasn't all that. So they have never been the most consistent program, but they are sneaky, like they almost snuck Oregon. So we know there's some names. We know the big guys to watch more than likely that's been there is Kansas State. They're decent. Kansas will sneak up on you, and we know Oklahoma State is that little brother that's always been right behind Texas and all of them. And they feel like since Big Brother gone, they're going to step up. And then you got the problem when you bring these big Pac-12 guys who've been battle tested over. You bring Utah over. You bring Colorado over. You bring Arizona. And I'm thinking, is Arizona State coming as well? Both of them. So Arizona, the only problem with those teams I just named, like the Arizonas, the Arizona States, they don't have some instability. Some stuff is shifted with their programs. They instead of trying to build a program and this stuff is shifting. So they can come in and spoil some people too. They only can ride Colorado who wounded. Arizona, they know what it was. I mean, Arizona kind of snuck up on Colorado and they got some very interesting calls from the ref that let Arizona win. But Arizona, I don't think is a threat to Colorado. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I don't say it 100 times, but this is my channel today. Utah's overrated. Utah, I don't know what it is. I know Utah had a decent year the year before, Coach Prime got there and they won. Maybe that's what everybody's leaning on, but the Utah of last year was overrated. I'm not saying they were trash, but they wasn't good. But people talk about Utah as if they is some big time program. You got to think about Utah was what? They wasn't Power 5, before they came to Pac-12. I think they maybe had a year. When they came over to Pac-12 as a newly, Power 5 program, they snuck up on some people. They've been pretty consistent in their own lane, in that smaller tier, group of 5, I don't know, group of 6, whatever you want to call it. And Colorado, I think, shouldn't have a problem with Utah. Utah has always been a running team. Their quarterback should come back. We don't know how healthy he's going to be, but I don't think they're going to come out and just be like Oregon, like how Oregon did with Bo Nix. I don't think they're going to be that type of team, but they're solid. But I just don't think that Utah's going to win the conference. Utah ain't like that. And I watched how they had to steal the game from Colorado. Yeah, they had backup players in, but so did Colorado. You say they had their starters, but you always question their quality of starters. Their quality of starters is backups. We already marked that. So it really was backups against backups. You had the backup quarterback against their backup quarterback. And our backup quarterback really ain't have no reps. And he dogged them. I mean, Colorado's really should have beat them by at least 2 touchdowns. They were calling stuff back left and right to even out that game. So Utah don't have the depth that a great team has. Just put it like that. Yeah, they was on their second, third quarterback. They have a quarterback like third or fourth, whatever. I'm not talking about the quarterback. I'm talking about the fact that you said their starters didn't play, but Colorado was running all over their defense. Their defense, the secondary had no answer for Travis Hunter. The secondary, and he was sick. He was a game time decision. People want to talk about that. Travis Hunter was a game time decision. He had the flu. Him and Weaver was pretty much questionable. Weaver didn't end up playing. Travis Hunter ended up coming out there, and he pretty much scored 3 touchdowns off the flu. And they took 2 from them right there in front of us. They called back Dylan Edwards' talking about a crap back, and the guy sat right there and barely hit him. He didn't sneak him. And so Colorado really bashed Utah. I believe they exposed Utah. So Utah, to me, I don't care what you say, wasn't that many players out in Colorado, didn't have all their key players either. So it is what it is. If they're top, like you play Georgia without their starters, you see how Georgia still beat you in that bowl. Georgia will still whoop you in that bowl, in the bowl game with their backups. They still put up, their backups will put 50, 60 on you. That's a good program. Yeah, you're right, Jeremiah. I miss Herman, get his last name. Now, he played at JSU, and he was another solid safety. Solid. Him and Silman Craig, solid safeties. He has some weight on him. He played for Coach Prime before, so it's not like a lot you have to find out about. He's fit into the program. I think it's another safety from another school, another JUCO that I know I'm missing. So it's a couple more safeties out there. And it's a lot of guys you look at well off, you be like, who are these guys that you ain't really get a lot of light on? Big size guys. Another big safety. These boys got depth. So, when you see people get hurt, like Shiloh was hurt, it's going to happen. People twist ankles, pull hamstrings, and it got to be that next man up. We can't bank on holding our breath. Even with the quarterback, it's so much better to have a guy from Vanderbilt, 6'5", guy from Kentucky, 6'5", 6'4". And you talking about guys who top level quarterbacks, that's why they're at SEC programs, but also they're going to train with Shador. So we better pattern more. It was such a drop off. Like I said, Utah seen a JV quarterback. That's what I call it, JV quarterback. And he played decent outside of that turnover he had. And when he fumbled that ball. But he played decent. He managed the ball decent. And I don't think he did nothing exceptional, but he managed the game decent. And I think the line blocked way better for him. So they can say he didn't hold the ball. Well, it didn't matter if Shador held the ball or not. He was getting thrashed. Before he was stepping on his foot before he even can get the ball. That's how he hurt his Achilles or whatever in the last game he played. So you can't say that. But I can say this. We got better quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks. At least they should compete. Big boys. They can throw the ball and they can run. And they ain't just like big Sunshine we had who couldn't hit the backside of a barn. He just was tall. So as long as old boy Wade, he's supposed to be training with select QBs. Let's see how they help him. As long as we have a valid backup quarterback, which don't have to come out for any reason in the game, he's still able to get the ball to our playmakers. That's when you know you good. He ain't got to be Shador. You ain't got to go and throw 80%. You ain't got to, be that guy. But be the guy who can get the ball. We got all these receivers. We need to be able to get the ball to them. That's just that simple. And as long as you can do that, Colorado won't have a significant drop-off. Your running game is still there. Your line's still able to block. You ain't got to be a world beater. Just manage the game, get the ball to our playmakers. Don't turn over the ball. You good. So this is my theory on Colorado domination. Solid quarterback, solid line, solid running game, proven quarterback, right? Quality backups. Quality backups on the line, depth on the line, right? Then you have quality defensive line. A whole lot of quality edge rushers. Decent depth at the tackle position. An improvement at linebacker, maybe one or two more pieces, unless some people step up. Like, Goldberg, he's small and he's young. I won't put that on him. But some of them guys hiding in the cut from last year step in with the Websters and maybe we got one more, hopefully. And you got Kennedy. And, maybe Wade come in and step in some middle. And as long as you got that and that secondary, all them guys I named, I don't see how in the world, unless you just a pure divine hater, that you say Colorado is not going to be somebody you have to respect. Appreciate your help from Uganda. Appreciate it. Appreciate your support. Appreciate all y'all support. Somebody say, what do you think the record will be? I'm great. You know what? A lot of people say, I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to tell you like this. I'm able to analyze not based off of what they're going to look like, but the adjustments that they made from last year. So I'm going to tell you this. People say 8-4 will be good. That's last year's record. They should have been 8-4 last year. That would have been good for them last year. 8-4 would not be good for them this year. Let me tell you why. Because Big 12 now 8-4 in the SEC, maybe even in the Big 10, maybe not the Big 12. I'm not being disrespectful. This is Shadour's last year. This is Travis' last year. This has got to be one of your best years. Not banking on what's going to happen. You got to do what you got with what you have right now. And they got to do it this year. They got to do it this year. It has to be done. It has to be done to solidify Coach Prime as a coach, and it has to be done to solidify the recruiting who's going to replace Shador. Showing what you're able to do with what you got in your hand. All right, you showed what you had last year. You say it wasn't enough. You got some good stuff this year. You got to prove as a coaching staff, as a program, what you can do with quality players, or else why the good players come. They're going to say at some point, they're going to say you can't coach. They're going to say you can't coach. I hope you get to go to the games and become one of the CPN. Well, I appreciate that. I when I got into this, I had no clue. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm just a guy like you all. I'm the guy who was talking to myself instead of y'all last year this time. I always had insight, as far as what I felt as a former athlete and coaching and all that. And just my perspective. That's what it's about, giving your perspective. And I think my biggest thing is it's a lot that could be done just to combine this with the record. It's a lot that needed to be done. You see, you got rid of the old coaches, whether it was by mistake or they did it and just covered it up. You got rid of the two people who was going to hold his team back. One was the offensive coordinator, who something fishy been going on. Everybody's like, is he sabotaging the team? Is he this? Is he that? Then we found out the players was kind of like parents splitting. Like, I'm going to go tell mommy on dad and daddy on mommy. Something was going on to the point where the loyalty was divided, especially with the offensive room, and it showed. The offensive line they hit their hearts, and here's one in it. Coach Brown calling them out. They wasn't blocking. It looked very suspicious, like they was missing blocks on purpose. It was too much going on within the team. Nevertheless, what was going on outside with the hate and people kind of jumping ship, they had a lot of it's issues in the locker room. So they couldn't really win like that. And they self-destructed. And then you got the defense coordinator who Coach Prime always praised, like a good old politician, but people was like, I don't know if this guy good enough. And miraculously, he decided to go back to his home school, right? Yeah. He went back. Appreciate y'all. And he just left. And so when you look at that, they got a clean slate. Pat Sherman is able to come in, bring his experience. He's been there for a year, so that count is not a brand new guy. He got a relationship. He's seen what happened last year, so he should use his experience from last year as an analyst and as a coach. He should be able to make the adjustments because you was here last year. So my thing is, we should really be able to look at some real comparisons. And like I said, when I talk, my thing is I'm coming from a perspective of my own. And I don't really try to get too much into the analyst component. Yeah, that Peach Bowl thing would have been nice. You know, I'm told of my true predictions from Colorado once spring game. Because the last thing I need is another Exodus. Yeah, I mean, I don't knock people holding back from what they want to see more. I can say from what I see, who's going to be there. Whoever exit need to exit, and I can probably tell you who need to exit. I probably can because it's going to be based off of how far they're down on the depth chart. Is why they exit. So it's not like you losing people who you need in this exodus. Last year we might have lost some pieces we needed because they got scared and left early, or they felt like their position was threatened, like the kicker or whatever. But I think that whoever lead this go around is people who you need to lead. Because another thing happened last season, there was a lot of grumbling, complaining, and that started to spill out. They started to spill out into social media. You've seen it with Willie Gaines. You've seen it with my guy at running back. I'm looking at his face and slipping my mind from Kentucky. And that thing is starting to poison your locker room. People like, I could do that. And they start hating on the people who playing. They're not supporting them. They're going back and forth. They complaining to other coaches. It's a toxic thing. So I feel like if they feel like they're not going to be used, those are exactly the people who are going to leave and should leave. Because if they're not going to play, don't hang around. You're going to have a bad attitude. If you feel like you can play elsewhere, yeah, smoke. Cavassier smoke. Let them go. Let them go. So that's all I see is the people who will be leaving. So my prediction is based off of who coming in, who they pretty much know they're gonna play. A lot of these defensive linemen, they know they're gonna play. Yeah, so yeah, that's gonna happen, man. And that's a real bandwagon, and that's gonna be the wave. And the wave is gonna be as people win. That's gonna be the wave. Thoughts in DC. That's a whole nother thing. Big Worm. Appreciate you, Big Worm, the super chat. New now DC announced the new C at the Super Bowl presser. I mean, he's gonna take advantage of it. One thing about Coach Prime, he's gonna take advantage. He's gonna leverage the exposure. He's not building all this pressure and all this anticipation for nothing. Don't get it. He the kind of dude. You see what they did with Jordan Seaton. Come on now, you see the kind of people they are. He's not holding back information and not know. Like, he want us to not know and keep worried about it. But you best believe he know, whether he announced it or not. He might already know. I'm sure he already know, but he's just waiting for the right time to release it. And it could be the Super Bowl. I know he's gonna do something with the Super Bowl, some with the shoes. He's gonna be promote his shoes or something because we saw that. So, yeah, you have to stand on business. So my thing is, like I said, 8-4 in my long talk about it. My long point of it, 8-4 would be a bad thing. I think 10-2 would be ideal at the very least for them. To be honest with you, 10-2 would at the very least be good for them. I think that ideally they would want to go 12-0. That would be the Cinderella story. It would be perfect. Shadul going off, Travis going off. It would be wonderful. 12-0. I think somebody can sneak up and beat them in a close game. 11-1. I don't think it's good for them to go below 10-2 with the type of players they got and the type of, you want to win a Heisman, you want to go to playoff, all this stuff, because nobody just want to go to bowl game now. And then the bowl game is the playoff. So you ain't just trying to shoot for the bowl, you shoot for the playoff because it's 12 teams now. When it was 4, you shoot for the top bowl game. Now it's the playoff. Some of them bowl games gonna be the playoff. Just like they did with the tortilla bowl and the sugar bowl, they all became part of the playoff. It just only was 2 games. So the rest of them bowl games gonna end up being the other playoff games. More than likely. Just from branding standpoint, they want to be the top games. They're not going to give up these playoff slots to go be a smaller bowl because the top team is going to be playing in the playoff. And those are the guys who usually play in the bowl game. So I think 10-2 should be their worst. Definitely should be. Think about it. Look how close they were to a top 10 season last year. Their momentum was going. I think even after they lost to Oregon, they still had a chance to beat because all these teams were beating each other. They had a chance to be. They was in the top 20 for the first few games. And then you look at the teams like Oregon and Washington, all them, and a lot of those guys. I think in Utah at some point, a lot of them guys have made it into the top 10. Pac-12 was the SEC last year. They were the guys that had the most guys in the top. They had like 8 teams in the top 25. And if you look at it, they had several of them to make it to the top 10. Or close, or right at it. UCLA made it close, I think. USC made it close until they started losing. At some point, they were beating each other. And that's what we have at the moment. I'm not basing off of who would leave. I'm not basing on who would come. I'm basing off of the talent they had last year and the additions they made. They really wasn't a 4-8 team. I'm going to say it again. They wasn't a 4-8 team talent-wise. They had some games stolen from them, and they stole some games from themselves. So, just Coach Prime, I'm going to give you an example. Coach Prime said we're only 7-8 dollars away. Do you not think they got them 7-8 dollars? That was probably should have been this title of this thing. Do you think they not have them 7-8 dollars? Out of all these guys they just brought in, he said we're 7-8 dollars away. That's his words. Do you not think Shadozy is a dog on the defense? The guy from Pitt on the other edge, you don't think he a dog? Let's talk defense. He said $7-8 total. Do you not think who else they brought in? Y'all help me out in the chat. This is chat participation. That's it. Who else? A dog. This new. Hodge, is he a dog? New guy out of Liberty. Wade come off the edge. You don't think he's a dog? Okay. Alan Harris. I think it's going to be Alan Harris. That's one guy I haven't mentioned. Green. There we go. Chat. Green. So that's $5 I just named. This new. Oh, Webster. Thank you. Webster. That's linebacker. Webster. We talking about defense. So I just named 6 dogs on defense. He said we 7-8 dogs away. Total. I just named 6. Okay. Let's jump over the offense. We can name several of the defensive line. We can name Myers. They're gonna let the linemen prove themselves. How we gonna do ourselves a favor? Anybody we gonna let prove themselves, we're gonna let the line prove themselves. So I ain't gonna name no dogs on the line. I'm gonna do everybody a favor. Tyler Brown didn't play last year. I'm not gonna include him because he might as well include him as new. We ain't gonna name nobody on the line for the haters a favor. Shepard, is he a dog? Right? We know Benson. We know Myers. We know Johnson. We know these guys coming in on the line. What about our tight end? We ain't gonna even say the tight end, new tight end. So we just not Shepard a dog. Yes. Is let me see, Baby T.O. Is he a dog? We got Seaton, the line. So he should be a dog. We're just talking about weapons we brought in. We got, let's say, at least 2 or 3 of them linemen turn out to be dogs. Right? Then you got Shepard. That's 4. He a big play guy. Timmons, nobody talking about Timmons Jr. I think he's coming late as well out of what is it? South Carolina? North Carolina State. So you talking about Do we have dogs? We're going to get to see about these dogs. And then let's look at the rollover guys that was here. Tyler Brown, they didn't let him play last year. They did all that silly crap and then wait to the bowl game. Say, okay, well, we didn't let you play. You can play in the bowl game. Oh, you're not playing in the bowl game. Shady. Oh, by the way, we're going to change the rules back. We changed them right for Tyler Brown not to play, and then we're going to change it back. We ain't no longer going to say if you transfer 2 times, you ain't going to play. You waited after you did that to him. He should sue the mess out of him. He should sue the mess out of him. We got Smalls. That's a rollover guy. We don't roll over the tight end who could be a sleeping, a sleeper on the team. All right. We got who else? Oklahoma. I think that was the edge. So I think the Fox is in the house. Explain that, Big Worm. Elaborate on that. Cleveland, Cash Cleveland got this. He real humble guy. He might be down and nasty, but the thing is, he get a chance to develop. He's at that center backing up. He ain't got no pressure on him. He can go eat good. He can go put on weight, and he could be the guy, a year or two from now, while nobody's paying attention to him. He can just have a good time and ride the wave. But I just named several dogs on both sides of the ball. So I think we met the condition that Coach Prime said, 7, 8 dogs. I think we met the condition for him to have a dominant team that he said he need. This is what he said as early as the USC game when they was, doing all that, college game day and big noon and all that. Yeah. Well, I don't know who they got, but I know we got 2 big old quarterbacks already. We got huge quarterbacks. Yeah, at Sunshine, we got 3 big old quarterbacks. It's going to boil down on us knowing how to use our weapons. We got all the weapons we need. We had them last year. I don't think they fully used the weapons. I'm not going to lie. I don't think the coaches fully maximized on the weapons last year. There we go. Welch. I keep wanting to call him Michelle. He must going to be like Michelle out of University of Georgia. I keep wanting to call him Michelle. So you got McCaskill, lean, strong, fast, healthy, full off season. You got Welch who's going to sneak up. You got Dylan Epps if we use him properly. You got everything you need. You still got Savion. Everybody's sleeping on. Little bowling ball. The beauty about it, everybody can be healthy and fresh when you put them in and hungry. I watched them do that at Washington. I watched them do that at Michigan. I watched them use 3 running backs. And them running backs was running like hound dogs. I said, that's the model. It was not, you couldn't really tell who was the starting running back. They just, number 2, number 1. And they were running. It's like you couldn't tell who's the starter if you didn't know the team. Dylan would definitely be faster. Running by, he need to go get right by that guy who jumped out of him on them blocks and say, let's work out together. You need to put several of our DBs over there. Well, I hope Coach Prime, somebody get this back. He needs to put several of our DBs and receivers over there and work out with the track team. I don't care if they don't run not one meet. Put them over there and work out with the track team. They was $7, $8 away. Well, I'm going to tell y'all, we got about 15. We got about $15 right now. Because somebody said, he said $7, $8 away. And there we go. DJ Kennedy. That was my guy from Oklahoma, not Oklahoma State. What's the Oklahoma State he came from? He came from Oregon State. I think he came from Oregon State. That's the guy I mentioned. Another long DB. He's built like Kamani, long, lean. So, and he can play too. And he can play too. He can play. So, I love them guys get on the track team. I would love for Jeremiah and all them boys to get on the wrestling mat with them linemen and show them how to use their hand and body. I'm tell wrestling make a big difference. I did it going to my senior year and put them DBs and put them on a wrestling mat. Cause I know Shadozi wrestle too, and they need to just start doing wrestling workouts. Let that get back to them. Them boys I was so aggressive at DB when I came back from wrestling. Now this mainly worked out with them. I did a couple meets and matches. Man, I was so aggressive with my hands. It was ridiculous. See, I played defensive back and linebacker. I was a tweeter. I was skilled enough to play defensive back. I was big enough to play linebacker. And I was more of a modern linebacker like today. I wasn't a linebacker like back in the day, like Ray Lewis or like I was more like the modern day linebacker like now. I was before my time. So I can jump out there and go and play man-to-man cornerback. And I wear you out with them hands. You ain't getting off the ball. You're not getting off the. I wear them out. And so that wrestling make a difference. Yep, Brandon Swain. Nobody ain't talked about Brantley. It's a lot of guys, man, that we ain't even giving people the benefit of the doubt. What's going on? Ramona. It's a lot of guys we don't looked over. There's a lot of guys haters looked over. I appreciate all my yeah, it was Oklahoma State. It was Oklahoma State. It was Oklahoma State. That what came from was the Cowboys. We say Carter from Arkansas will be a big asset. Yep. See, definitely forgot about Carter. I think there's a lot of people we forgot about. Unless you just sit down and put a list on the screen on who could be a difference maker. And like they say, people still kind of sneaking in with these coaches transferring themselves and getting promotions. And then we, like you said, you're gonna have some people leave and come after the spring game. So I think you're already at the point. It's not like you still like last year. I hope we get some people after the spring game. I think we already have a lot of people to get what they wanted externally. So they use what they have already within. Everything Coach Prime do is hire within. So I think he's gonna hire somebody he got a relationship with, and they may have worked with him at CU. I think us letting Thurman go was interesting to go to Hawaii because that would have been your inside guy. So you it's something when he didn't hire Thurman and let him go, because if it was gonna be an inside guy, it would have been Thurman. So it's definitely something big coming, and sometimes we can't handle all of it, man. So it's good that they kind of let us get to know the players and understand what's going on, because I think it's gonna be a big announcement that's gonna be enough by itself, and it's not overshadowing the players at this point. But I'm gonna close with this. I've already made it clear. I believe Colorado's gonna dominate. No shame on me. Everybody here, listeners know Greg said it. Colorado's gonna dominate. I'm saying it in January, February, and I meant what I said. And I ain't basing it on the spring game. I'm not basing it on no schedule. I'm telling you, based off what I see, based off the needs of this team, based off what this team needed, and based off what they got and what they already had, they're gonna be a problem. Any other piece is just gonna be just icing on the cake. It's just gonna be icing on the cake. They can run a 3-4, they can run a 4-3. They got the personnel to do it. Matter of fact, when I played ball, you're supposed to adjust anyway. You're supposed to have a hybrid defense anyway. Is your team spread you out more, or they run more? You should be changing your defense anyway. You shouldn't be like, just run a 3-4 every game. You're not NFL. You don't have that kind of. You should be adjusting. You should be like, this game I run a 3-4. We run a 4-3 or 4-4. They run a wing. Exactly. McHale. What position McHale? I remember that name, Cam McHale. What position he play? Yeah, he's a safety, right? Cam McHale. That's another guy we looking over. The depth is there. Because when I was thinking about McHale, I was thinking about the running back. I definitely was thinking about the running back, McHale. So I remember the name. But I said what I said. I mean what I say. They're going to dominate. I think most of y'all agree. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. We do this. It's only going to pick up at the season going when we no longer, okay, McHale is a receiver. Okay, that's a young dude. Hey, I remember Cam McHale, young dude. Yeah, I remember him. So we definitely sleeping on him. Yeah, he's another guy running back and all of that. Yeah, young dude. I remember him. I appreciate all y'all coming through. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Check out the sponsor in the description. And we're going to be back at it. Y'all have a good one. Go get me something to eat. And I'll talk to y'all soon.